In this particular video, we're going to be looking at clause 7, which is entitled support. So we're going to be looking at all the support functions to the management system. Support spans all the way across 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 clauses. So let's have a look at clause 7 in detail. 7.1 speaks about resources. You need to provide resources to your SHEQ management system to be able to achieve the intended outcome. So we need to be able to identify and provide those resources. What could those resources be? Well, they're people, their equipment, their finances, their infrastructure, their software. There's a whole load of requirements and resources that need to be identified and provided to your SHEQ management system. We also need to ensure that we have a suitable work environment. Now, the work environment can be applicable to the people, the products, and the services, because you can't hope to achieve conforming product and service if your working environment isn't conducive to the creation of conforming products and services. We have a look at monitoring and measuring devices. Now, you could either stage this here, or you could stage this in clause 9. I've decided to stage it here, the monitoring and measuring devices. What scales, verniers, calipers, etc., what monitoring and measuring devices are used within your processes, and we need to make sure that they are calibrated and verified, and the information is identifiable and traceable in terms of all the monitoring and measuring devices. And if a monitoring and measuring devices is found to be out of specification, what do we do with those results? How do we treat it? Also, company knowledge, or referred to as organizational knowledge. How do you identify all the information that is required to run an organization? Now, my experience from this has been a lot of organizational knowledge sits in people's heads, but you want to be able to identify who are the people that hold your organizational knowledge, and you want to be able to capture it in your SHEQ management system. Because if that information is not captured in a structured, formalized approach, when those people who hold your organizational knowledge leave your organization, they're going to leave your organization with the knowledge and walk out the door. So that's company knowledge. So those are resources. Some of the tools that we could look at for providing resources would be, we have plans and budgets and planned maintenance, and the planned maintenance would speak to the equipment and the monitoring, measuring devices, and we capture our company knowledge. We also, in 7.2, we talk about competency. We need to be able to ensure that we support the SHEQ management system by providing competent resources. So in terms of providing competent resources, we need to identify what are the skills requirements of the various different role players within the management system. We need to ensure skilled people. We need to take action. If we identify that people are short of a particular skill, we need to take action to meet that skill. Get quotations on the training, make sure that there's a training plan in place, render the training, and we also need to make sure that the training is effective. Various different types of assessments, be it a planned task observation, be it a written examination, but we obviously need to take cognizance of people's literacy levels as well. So a TNA, a training needs analysis, a training plan, PTOs, reviews, assessments are all mechanisms that we can use to ensure that we are providing competent people, internal and external, to establish, implement, and maintain our SHEQ management system to achieve the intended outcome. We also talk about awareness under 7.3. We need to make all people working under the control of the organization aware of policies and objectives and hazards and incidents, and what are the effects of positive SHEQ behavior within the organization? What are the effects of negative SHEQ behavior within the organization? And again, all of this is to support the SHEQ management system. In 7.4, we talk about communication. We need to identify all forms, legal and other requirements for internal and external communication. So what does the law say to us about health and safety communication, and when is consultation and participation required? Environmental law, what happens if there's a spill? What information do we need to communicate to the regulator? In terms of customers, what information do we need to receive? How do we receive it? Where does it go? What do we do with it? And how do we communicate externally? So we generally do that through a communications matrix, or we write the communication, consultation, and participation process into each process within the SHEQ management system. So that's a particular approach. And then last but not least, we then look at under 7.5 documented information. So for all of the documents under 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, how do we add, edit, delete? How do we change documents? What do we do with obsolete documents? How do we make sure that obsolete documents are still not used within our management system? How do we control hard copy documents? So we've printed 5 different copies of the policy and they're on various different notice boards. How do we make sure that we pull those old copies back and replace them with new copies of the SHEQ policy as and when required? How do we identify and control documents of external origin? So machinery and equipment manuals that are provided for our equipment, how do we identify them and control? Because they're all essential documented information. And then with regards to records, where, when, how do we protect those particular records? All the records that are generated within our SHEQ management system, we want to be able to identify what they are, where they will be stored, how they will be stored, and how long. Because remember, we need to look at the storage method as per the time frame. So a lot of occupational health and safety medical records need to be stored for between 30 and 40 years, depending on what it is. And you need to ensure that it is legible over that time period. So that's just an overview of the support function, resources, competency, awareness, communication, and documented information are all mechanisms that we use to support the establishment, implementation of the SHEQ management system in order to be able to ensure that we achieve the intended outcome. We trust that you enjoyed this video.